Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday, May 13th. And we arrive at the Wednesday of the fifth week of Easter. And this week, our reflections focus on a verse or passage of Scripture that give us strength and courage during times of struggle and challenge. And the one that I chose is from the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verses 28 to 31. So I will read that for you now. A reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah. Do you not know, or have you not heard, that the Lord is the everlasting God, creator of the heavens and the earth? God will not grow weary or tired, and God's understanding is beyond anything we can fathom. God gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even though the young may grow tired and weary, or even if they stumble and fall, those who hope in the Lord will find their strength renewed. They will soar as on the wings of eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint. The book of Isaiah is considered to be split into three parts. The first part is Isaiah trying to warn the people of Israel that if they continue to turn away from God, get caught up in material things and not paying attention to their faith, that they might lose their homeland, they might be conquered by a foreign power. The scripture passage that I selected from chapter 40 is considered to be the second part of the book of Isaiah. And the people have been conquered and are taken into the Babylonian captivity, which lasted for about 70 years. And during the second part of the book of Isaiah is where Isaiah is giving assurance and comfort and strength to the survivors, those who want to remain faithful to God and need a way to see to the end of this time, that Isaiah offers the promise of redemption even in the midst of suffering. The verse that I chose begins with a reminder, and if you read the whole chapter, you see this series of reminders that the people of God, the reminders to the people of God, that God is present and has not forgotten them and will lead them to a new day. I know that in times of struggle for myself that I do forget often just how close God is to me. And I love this scripture passage because it just is that very human idea of needing to be reminded of what matters most, and a reminder that we're not alone. So I first noticed this passage in 1981, and that's because that is the year the movie Chariots of Fire came out. And there's a beautiful scene during the movie that this verse is read as different races, because it's a running movie. Different running races are taking place. And it struck me so much that even as an 11-year-old, I wanted to find out more about that verse and to become aware of it. In 1990, this passage became very important to me again. I had just turned 20 years old and started my junior year of college, and experienced what was really the first real challenge of my life, an existential crisis for me and for my family. My dad was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer, and our world literally was turned upside down in a matter of a few weeks. I mean, my dad was the type that was never sick. He never missed work. And in a short span of time, he was diagnosed had surgery which wasn't successful, and never returned to work, never could walk again without assistance. Went through rounds of radiation and chemo that didn't work. And over the course of the next 2 years, he declined slowly, and just a few weeks after he turned 57, he died. When he died, I had just graduated from college and was in the midst of my first teaching job as a music teacher. And I was very depressed, and felt like I was just going through the motions of life. And this scripture passage really was a big part of what I consider bringing me back to life. I started counseling. I started spiritual direction. There were so many good friends and mentors who kept reminding me, like in the scripture passage I mentioned, trying to remind me of all the good that was still in my life. And the persistence of this passage was so helpful to me, and it was a place where I could really hear God's voice, where I could experience this sense of coming back to life, and that God was leading me to a place where I could be happy again and trust God's promise that there was so much still to look forward to in my life. There have been many times since then that I've returned to this passage, and I've done so again during these past weeks of living through this pandemic. And as I think about these words, which were spoken to the people of Israel during their exile, during a time of captivity, there are some similarities in terms of what we've been experienced. We are separated from our loved ones. We're separated from our lives. And in the first time, I think for most of us, this idea of time kind of just stopping is something so new. And the words of this scripture take on so much meaning. So I'd like to read the passage again for you as a way to close. And perhaps you'd like to close your eyes and take in the words and imagine them being spoken directly to you, directly to your heart, directly to those places within you where you need to hear these words the most. Do you not know, or have you not heard, that the Lord is the everlasting God, creator of the heavens and the earth? God will not grow tired or weary, and God's understanding is beyond what we can fathom. God gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. And even though the young may grow tired and weary, even though they may stumble and fall, those who hope in the Lord will find their strength renewed. They will soar as on the wings of eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint. Blessings to you and all those you love. Blessings of much hope and comfort and strength.